there. So a lot of times I like to just remove the netting and, you know, tie it myself, and I think you've all seen me do that about 1,000,000 times at this point, right? Anybody need to see me do that again? I'd be happy to, but if you don't
really want to.
If you really want me to do it, I'll do it. Okay, remember this is the leg, and remember I was telling you about all the different muscles that you can see once you open this up. So you can see this, we have this, muscles here, and the way that you can tell what the different muscles are made up of is the fat and the silver skin sort of, you know, keeps that muscle in place. So you do, there's a lot going on in here. So you do want to make sure that you are removing, the fat is okay, like these big pieces of fat are great, but sometimes there is silver skin underneath the fat, and that is where you want to make sure that you're removing those items and getting rid of the silver skin, because the silver skin is not going to cook down in your cooking, okay? So nice sharp knife, and I think we've all done this at this point before, removing the silver skin. Has anybody not done this in this class yet? I feel like we do this on so many different pieces of meat, and we've probably all done this. For what we're doing today we are making satays. So in order to make the satays, you want little 4-ounce pieces. Now see how I'm kind of pulling this apart, and I'm just taking the tip of my knife and I'm getting this muscle separated. Okay, see how easy that is? Just real easy. I have a really nice sharp knife, small little cuts, and I'm able to go in there and remove this specific muscle. Okay, so there's one. Now once you get that off of there, you do want to trim it up as much as possible. Fat is good, silver skin is not. And then once you get it all trimmed, let's pretend I have it all trimmed so this doesn't take all day. You want to cut it into about 4-ounce portions for your satay. You want to observe where is the grain of the meat. So that's why I like to remove the muscle. That's why I like to separate it into muscles, because then you can identify the grain of the meat. It's hard to identify the grain of the meat because I've got so many different muscles all wrapped up here that they're going different directions. Okay, so you do want to make sure you identify that, because why? Why is that important? To identify where the direction of the grain. So that it'll be tender. You always want to cut opposite the grain so that it will yield a more tender piece, and especially in a leg, it's going to be important that you observe that so that you do, you know, wind up with a tender piece of meat when you're done. So we can see the grain running this direction here. Kind of a lot of fat cap here. And now I'm going to try to cut it into about 4-ounce portions, okay? Can somebody grab me a scale? I want to see how close I am. Got it? 3. Okay. You only need to measure like every 3rd or 4th one once you get going. That's probably 3 too. A bit bigger. There, that one might be better. That one's probably 4. But once you get the feel for it, yeah, there you go. Then you can build up some speed as you go. Okay, now we're going to put this on to satay. So at this point, then I would cover it with parchment paper, and I would take a mallet and pound it out, get it nice and thin. Okay, and there is a marinade that you're going to put on here. So the marinade consists of vegetable oil, lemongrass, garlic, crushed red pepper, curry powder, honey, and a little bit of fish sauce. So mix your marinade, pound these out gently. You don't want them super, super thin, but you do want to sort of even it out, and then put it into the marinade. These are going to go onto bamboo skewers, so you want to make sure you soak your skewers so that they don't catch on fire when you grill them. And then you're going to do a quick grill on this. So you want a really nice hot grill, okay, so that you can get a little bit of color on here, but you don't get the meat overcooked. Okay, so that's why, you know, you really want to concentrate on getting this, I don't know, what do you think, about a 1/2 inch thickness? You can go a 1/2 inch, maybe it, depending on where you're cutting, like, you know, just like the edge, that would have been a thicker piece to try to get 4 ounces. And that's fine, you can get a thicker piece. And then you could, once I pound this out, I might even want to cut it into half again, because it's going to be pounded. And then I'm going to thread it onto my skewer in and out, and then you're going to do a quick grill on this after it's been marinated. Okay. The sauce that goes with this is delicious. It is a peanut sauce, and you can just make it into your robot coupe. Okay, so get all the ingredients prepped, and the list is a little bit long. You've got garlic, onion, red pepper flakes. We've got kefir lime leaves, which are pretty unique. They're not the easiest thing to find. I believe we got ours from In Garden. So this is a stalk of lemongrass, and if you are interested in getting your fingers dirty and gardening a little bit, this is a great thing to grow, because even I can grow this, and if I can grow this, then it's like a weed in your yard. It's awesome. I
have a growing.
I know it's not the most beautiful of bushes. It's kind of dried out. Okay, but for the lemongrass. So you're not going to use the whole thing. I mean, you could steep this. It's super fiber. I'll hand this around, and smells so good. And this can be utilized. You would want to steep it in something. So if I wanted to utilize this portion of my lemongrass, what I would do is I would cut it into strips, pound it a little bit, and then infuse that flavor into, you know, my simmering sauce or tea or whatever it is. But it does have a very unique flavor profile to it. But what you want is this portion here, okay? This is where you're gonna get the most flavor. This has you actually chopping it up and adding it in. It is pretty fibery, even this heart part, I'll pass that around. It's still pretty fibrous. So you wanna make sure that you've got a nice sharp knife. Trim it a little bit. Nice sharp knife. And then you wanna make sure too, that if you're gonna incorporate the whole thing into your dish, that you mince it really nice and fine, okay? You're going to want to go kind of like garlic, okay? You're going to want to mince it like garlic, because it is so fibery. Now you're cooking this, so it will cook down a little bit, but nice and fine, about like that. Okay? About like that. So that will go into your peanut sauce, along with vegetable oil, coconut milk, a little bit of cinnamon. A cinnamon stick goes in here, and then you'll remove the cinnamon stick, but you infuse the whole cinnamon stick in. Lemon juice, rice wine vinegar, chicken stock, and then the best ingredient, peanut butter, which is what makes this so good. So you'll start by sauteing your garlic, your onion, your red pepper flakes, your lime leaves, your curry, and your lemongrass until everything is translucent and softened, okay? So tell me about the garlic. Garlic is the first item on the list here to put into my pan. Am I gonna put that in first and follow the directions? No. You're gonna get your onions started, the rest of the ingredients started, and then you're gonna add your garlic. As soon as it becomes fragrant, then you're good to go, okay? But if you get too much heat, what happens? It gets brown, and then you're going to wind up with a bitter flavor. So don't put your garlic in first. The rest of the ingredients go into the pot, and you just simmer this for 30 minutes. Okay, it all just sits together. And then you can put it in, if you'd like, to see what you think about the texture at this point. It'll depend on your knife skills. You could put it into the Roku food processor and get it really nice and smooth, or you could leave it chunky. It's completely up to you. Your call on that. You do want to taste it and season it, you know, for a little more heat or, you know, a little more spice. But this is really versatile sauce. It's really delicious. I think you guys are gonna like it. And then the pilau, this is the Indian style rice pilaf, is really good too. So we've got a little bit of saffron. We're gonna infuse our saffron in some hot water so we can draw out that color, and then that's gonna go in. It's calling for ghee. Ghee is a type of clarified butter. We're gonna use clarified butter today, okay? Again, onion, ginger. We've all worked with ginger, yes. Cumin, coriander, turmeric, cinnamon, cloves, crushed red pepper, and then long grain rice. So what does that mean when I'm using long grain rice as opposed to short grain rice? What's the texture going to be of my rice when I'm done cooking it? Or what should the texture be of my rice? It'll be a little bit on the firm, and it'll be more fluffy. It won't be sticky like a short grain rice. So you're looking for a fluffy rice when you're done, okay? So we'll shoot for that. This also gets some green peas and some slivered almonds. I would definitely toast up my almonds before incorporating them in, and that's after the rice is cooked. You're going to combine all those ingredients that I just listed, and then after it's cooked, that's when you're going to add your raisins, peas, and nuts going at the end. Okay, so that is the satay. Now for the, where's the recipe? Here it is. Let me move this out of the way. So I'm going to leave this as full as possible, and then you guys can have fun with fabricating your own, as much as I would love to do it all for you. So now we've got the lamb loin. So this is a rack of lamb, and these are the Frenched ribs. So this has already been done for you. How this would come if it hadn't been Frenched before. Remember we saw that picture of it all together, and it has that nice big fat cap on it. So if your lamb is not already Frenched, what you want to do is you just take your knife. Maybe I'll just French it a little bit more, and come down on the bones just like that on one side, and then you want to score it on the other side at about the same. Yeah, that's about right. One way to do it is to take a piece of string, cut down so I can get my knife. I don't know if this one's going to work. It's come nice and tight on it, and then pull it back. Okay, and that's how you get it nice and clean. All right, so you would do that on each one of them. I just wanted to show you that so that if you get one that's not, then you would be able to clean it up real nice. And then see how it still has a little bit. You can come through here, and I would just use use your knife, and then use a towel to kind of like clean this all up so it's nice and clean, because this makes a really beautiful presentation. If you're serving rack of lamb, you want it, this just is gorgeous on the plate. You know, it gives a little height to your plate to serve it this way on the bone like that. For our purposes today, we are only using the loin. We're not even using the rack portion. This is a loin of lamb. So I'm going to actually remove the loin from the rack. Now I can kind of see where the muscle sits right here on top of these bones. There's not a lot of meat to be missing out. And I'm just going to make a cut straight down and expose that, okay? And then if you look on the other side, you can see where the bones, the rack bones come here, and then there's these little chine bones that are from the spine. And they're real small. So you want to make sure that none of those are left on the loin when you're done, because that's not going to be a desirable, you know, item in your guest's dinner. So I'm just going to scrape along the bones here, take my knife kind of sideways, and cut the loin from the rack. What I'm going to do now, after I get my loin removed from my rack, is I'm going to roast these bones, and then I'm going to put them in my stock, and that is going to add, I'm going to make like a little mini lamb stock with this, and then that flavor gets added into my finished jus de lis. So you're going to add another you know, flavor profile to that that's really going to make it taste really good. So it comes off super easy. See that? And so now you do want to trim it up just a little bit. I like to leave the fat cap on this. So I just want to remove, I want to make sure, first of all, I go along the back and make sure that I don't have any of those little chine bones left on my loin. That's pretty good. I'd remove the silver skin. Okay, here, but leave the fat cap on. And it's tender anyway, so it wouldn't be terrible if you took the fat cap off, but it does add just another, these are big. And now at this point, I'm going to tie this. Remember how we tie it? We all remember this, right? Okay, so you're going to tie this up. You could do this in two, too. This is so long and skinny, I might cut this in two and then tie it. And why am I tying it? Why do I want to tie this?
You can make it a shape.
Shape? Yep.
Even cooking?
Even cooking, too. Yep, the shape and the even cooking.
Could you tie it again, please?
Sure, I can tie it again.
Could you butterfly that open and put some herb rub in there?
Sure you could.
In the middle?
Yeah. If I'm going to butterfly, it's pretty small.
Yeah.
If I'm going to butterfly anything, I'm going to butterfly the leg. This is so small and it's so tender. You know what I mean? It doesn't need that element. So you just slip and tie it nice and tight. I should have cut this in half because this is big. And if I'm doing this in my restaurant, I would want it to be one portion. You know what I mean? So this would be 2 portions. So you would definitely want to cut it in half just for that purpose, because you're only going to want to cook one at a time. Now this is going to cook really fast, as is the satay. So you need to make sure that you have, I want everybody to write out a workflow today to figure out, what do I need to do first? What do I need to do second? Third, fourth. The last thing you should be doing is cooking your lamb. All your other components should be all ready to go before you begin cooking your lamb, because the lamb is going to cook really fast. There's no long cooking in here. So then I tighten it this direction as well, and then tie it off right here, okay? And now it's ready. I would definitely season this up. You can add some herbs to it, salt and pepper. I'm not sure what the recipe calls for exactly, but I would definitely do that. So with this dish comes the stuffed roasty potatoes, which is one of my favorite things. It is a little, we have done this in this class before. It's like that crispy potato pancake. This recipe is a little bit different from the one that we've done before. You want to be careful that it's thin and it's crispy. So you want to make sure that I would hand cut my potatoes, hand cut them really nice and thin, and then make sure they are completely dry. Now remember, the potatoes oxidize, so you don't want to do this too far in advance. You want to do this just before you're ready. You can soak them in water, but then you're going to have to, dry them again before you begin frying them. But the idea is you make a little like potato pancake, a crispy potato pancake, using the roasty potatoes. We'll pretend this is peeled. Pretend it's peeled. You want it to be peeled. This is a good time to practice some knife cuts. But nice small. Even that one's a little bit big. I would go nice small cuts, hand cut, okay? Get them really nice and dry. And then I would put them into a nonstick pan. I would go smaller, not bigger, because it's going to be a lot easier, especially if you've never done this before. And we did not have a lot of success that day, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So we'll try this time to be a little bit more successful with our. So a nice hot pan. Make sure you have enough oil in there so the potatoes don't stick, and get a thin layer. Now these are, potatoes take a long time to cook, so you're gonna, want to kind of go low and slow, but still at the same time give them time to cook, but you want that golden browning. And then flip it, and then what happens is you put the goat cheese, after you get 2 of them together, 2 small ones, get them ready, and this can be done in advance because this can be reheated in the oven. And then you put your goat cheese in the middle and you make it like a sandwich. So it's like a roasty potato sandwich, and you serve it on the plate with your lamb loin and your dried cherry sauce and your delicious jubilee that you roasted your bones and added the stock and made that real special too. So what do we think? Any questions? Are we good? Did I get everything? I think I did.